extra.
It says we're live.
Okay.
All right, I'm coming over.
Hi.
Hi.
It doesn't say we're live, but it always is delayed when it like is thinking about it. Oh, there you are. There's me live. Okay, hold on.
Am I in RPM?
Yeah. There you are. Okay, we are good. Hi.
Hi.
I am Sylvia Rinaldi.
I'm Karina Tipton.
And this is
Town Hall Tailgate.
But we are in a new, exciting location tonight.
Yes.
This is a surprise location. Well, somewhat of a surprise. It was a last-minute decision. We are officially tailgating the planning board meeting, and today is October 12th.
Yes.
But unfortunately, I was not able to attend the planning board meeting tonight because as a trustee for the Walden Ambulance Corps, it was a budget meeting.
Yes.
And normally planning boards are on Monday, Ambulance Corps would be on Tuesday, but because of the holiday, they were both on the same night. So we decided that, well, it made sense. Karina went to the planning board and I was here on the ambulance corps. So after the meeting, Karina was nice enough to come here to the ambulance corps, eat the pizza that we had for our budget meeting.
One slice.
It was so good.
It had mushrooms on it.
Franco's.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Thanks, Franco's.
Yeah, really good pizza.
Yeah.
And we are tailgating from inside the ambulance bay.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah. So hopefully there will be no calls, but we are not in the way if there is a call.
No.
There's a large, very large.
Ooh.
Ooh, did you see that?
Yeah, that was really cool.
Big
Did
one.
you see that?
I don't know. It was like this big. So we are not in the way if a call needs to happen.
No.
But you would see the lights go on behind us.
And we would just go to the side.
We would scoot out of the way.
Yeah.
So because I was here and not at the planning board meeting, you are all going to see live my reaction as Karina tells me what happened in the planning board meeting
I have
tonight.
to say, it was an important planning board meeting, but it wasn't like a momentous planning board meeting.
Okay.
So the important thing was it was the scoping meeting for the draft environmental impact statement for the RDM warehouses, now known as Neelytown Business Park.
Okay, that's what they're calling it, Neelytown Business Park.
I still want to call it RDM, but we can call it both maybe.
I wish they would come up with something like really
like windswept plains.
I was just gonna say like sky high, like sun sweep.
Right.
Sorry.
Because they're code names, they're all made up. But Neelytown Business Park does sound very professional, so I understand it. If you remember, this is the 2 warehouse development that the town board issued a moratorium waiver to, and then when they showed up in front of the planning board, they had tacked on an additional 300 tractor trailer parking spaces right on Beaver Dam Road in between some houses.
And a new lot. It was an additional lot that they added.
Yeah. So it was kind of a big deal that I'm upset about. I've told you about my feelings in the past. You can read about them in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Karina had a really good quote because in the last board meeting, which was last week, Karina brought up in the public comment, which is the first meeting of the month, anybody can talk about anything in the public comment period about this project moving forward and how the applicant had essentially done a bait and switch, in my opinion, which is to show one thing to the town board and then a few weeks later show something else to the planning board.
Right. So let me tell you the purpose of a scoping meeting.
Yep.
So this is all part of the process, right? So there's an environmental impact statement where they have to develop what are all of the impacts that this development are going to cause, and can they be mitigated in a way that is going to be acceptable to the community and the planning board, which is the lead agency. The scoping session is what creates the outline for that document. So everything that goes into the scoping session is what the applicant has to include in their actual report that they end up writing, and that dictates the level of effort that they have to put in. So you start with a draft scope. This was on the town website. It's a 31-page document, and it outlines exactly the table of contents for the environmental impact statement. Okay. And it tells them exactly what to do. Like, I'm just going to flip to a random page, and it says air quality. This section will discuss existing air quality at the project site and in the immediate vicinity of the project site. Discuss air emission sources, if any, near the project site, including, and it just tells you exactly what the scope of the work is. Yep. So the scoping session is to hear what the community is concerned about, and what I did is I reviewed this and I added more stuff to what they had added. Okay. And I had this 2.5 page, because I'm a nerd. But what I was asking...
You mean you're an engineer?
I'm an engineer.
Oh,
so this is kind of...
So this is like
a little bit in my wheelhouse.
I see.
Yeah, so I'm a ringer. I'm a ringer. So basically, you know, and other people submitted comment letters as well. Some of the residents on Beaver Dam Road were there, and they had submitted a comment letter, and they also like stood up and spoke to the planning board about what they were concerned about. I read off my letter and I handed it in to the planning board secretary. It's stuff like expanding the scope of the traffic study, asking for more construction-related studies, like especially blasting plans, because I think many of us remember that when Medline was blasting, you could feel it in houses very far away from the project site.
It was really bad when Medline was blasting. And what I know about this location is that it's on a steep slope.
Yeah, there's a 100-foot hill. It's right, the parking lot, it goes right up against 84, and there's this big hill. And in order to put in a parking lot, they're going to have to blast that hill away.
Right. Get rid of it, as far as I could see.
Right, exactly. So I asked them to consider lessons learned from the Medline blasting. Consider all of the warehouses. I think there had been a moment in one of the previous planning board hearings where like Cardinal Health or Unfee had said, well, because our phase 2 was approved 20 years ago, we got first dibs on the traffic.
That is exactly what they said.
Yeah, they did. So I was like, make sure you include all of the warehouses and all of the plans that have been approved, because some of them haven't been built for decades.
Right. And what's interesting when that happened is that right now when people do a traffic study, they put their cameras, or it's not that it's the little lines, right? And they count how many cars are going back and forth. But it's not always clear to me, and maybe this is being done on the back end and I don't realize that other projects like Cardinal Health had gone ahead and have already tacked on future traffic. So when you're currently doing a traffic study, are you reviewing all the approved site plans from every site before you that's not yet built, plus adding it to the traffic that you're doing? Is that happening?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
that's why I asked for it. So it's super explicit.
Thank you.
Just stuff like that. This might be interesting to you. I also asked them to, they have to do, it's not just environmental impacts, it's impacts to the community and fiscal and economic impacts, future growth impacts on the community, cultural resources. So I asked them to check for mastodon skeletons.
We should always be checking.
Check for a mastodon skeleton.
For a mastodon skeleton.
But I asked them to evaluate property values and how they're going to be impacted by this construction.
I'm sure that's so important.
Yeah. And then I also asked them to evaluate where the people that are going to live, where are the people that build this warehouse and work in this warehouse, where are they going to live? Where do they expect that labor pool is going to come from?
Yeah.
And then also I asked them to consider what the availability is for warehouse staffing, because if there's labor shortages, which we know there already are in this town, it'll have a negative impact on existing businesses in this town, and that should be documented and mitigated.
Yeah. I think that, I don't know how you would mitigate that.
I don't know either. That's for them to figure out, and the planning board to decide if it was good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the last thing that I said was I asked them to provide a comparison of their project plans to the town board approved comprehensive plan. Because if you recall, the applicant in their moratorium waiver verbally committed to meet the intention of the comprehensive plan.
Correct. So when this was something that I had brought up over and over and over again, which is when one of the reasons that I was not for giving this particular applicant a waiver for their moratorium to build the warehouse was, number one, because they were supposed to have demonstrated a financial need, and I didn't feel like they met that. That it was supposed to be given under extraordinary circumstances, and I didn't feel like that was the case. But if it were to be done, which they ended up doing, my question was, do they get grandfathered into all of the old zoning that had to be updated, or are they going to be, do they have to follow the new zoning that was yet to be written, but we knew it was coming?
Yeah.
And the lawyer, if I remember correctly, said they would be held to the standard of the zoning at the time that they
were approved.
Right. So I just want to point out that when did we pass the plan? Was it June or
July?
July?
Yeah.
And it's now October, and we haven't yet seen the first draft of the zoning.
No.
And here they are moving forward with their scoping document for the planning board, which is exactly what I was worried about.
Right.
Is that they will have been grandfathered in because of timing to all of the old zoning codes, which don't have the proper buffers. They don't have the proper water protection for ponds. It doesn't have how much percentage of the land can be used. And this applicant, as you said, made a verbal agreement to honor the intentions of the comprehensive plan, but then did not change one thing about their site plan after it was approved, after the comprehensive plan was approved.
No.
So
In fact, they increased the impervious surface.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I over and over again, I have been unimpressed with this particular company. And I have to say, this was the article that was in the Times Herald Record last week. This company is in the process of building 4 million square feet of warehouse space across Orange County.
Right.
And that's a portion of Montgomery. It's a portion of Hamptonburg.
Right. And that warehouse has already been approved.
That warehouse is approved.
Yeah.
And I do want to say that Hamptonburg warehouse, the entrance for it is going to be off of the Montgomery exit, down Neelytown Road, and a left on Old Neelytown Road instead of so at the corner of Neelytown Road and Beaver Dam, the road that crosses over and goes into Hamptonburg is Old Neelytown Road. Right? So those warehouses are down that road, but on the Hamptonburg side of the border.
Yeah.
But all of the trucks are now Montgomery traffic because they're all getting off the Montgomery exit. They're going down Neelytown Road and they're making a left at that light. And that also adds to this traffic study.
It does. Yeah.
And I suspect that 300 space parking lot is not just for those 2 RDM warehouses they want to put in, but also for all the the new Hamptonburg on Old Neelytown Road. So I'm just not sure that this company is a good neighbor, or it's not yet been proven to me in anything that they have done yet.
Agreed.
So prove me wrong, company. Show me how you are a good neighbor and change your site plans to essentially improve there's a huge bug.
It's like as big as a hummingbird.
What do you think it is?
I don't know. We're going to have to look it up afterwards.
Yeah.
It's quite large.
So that I'm going to get off my stage here. But this is an opportunity for a company to do better and for Montgomery to do better. And instead of plowing through with a terrible plan that seems disingenuous, change it now.
Right. Yeah. Show up. They've heard what the community is concerned about. They have an opportunity to
they were sitting right every time I'm there talking. Not for the days they show up.
They were there tonight. There was, I believe, 3 representatives there sitting there listening. They didn't speak during the meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, I just have to point out that I think that they should perhaps not contribute to any political campaigns.
I think so too, because it seems a little bit weird to do that.
And I have looked up their political contributions in 2021, and they have donated money to the Orange County Republican Committee.
They have.
And
when you read about that, the week after an article detailing over 4 million square feet of warehouse space in Orange County, it's just not a good look.
Yeah, it just doesn't sit well with me. And I didn't find that information out from some it's like a crazy source. I just pulled up the campaign finance report from the Orange County Republican Committee, and there, lo and behold, was a donation of $2,500 from RDM.
Right.
And it just doesn't look good to me. If you are trying to push through these warehouses to donate to a certain type of political party.
Yes.
Do better. Do better.
Do better. Do better.
Anything else about the planning board?
There was a lot line, a change for a private road. There were Chili Gas. This is interesting. Chili Gas, which is located right behind that event venue that's over near Stonecastle Road, the historic barn.
Yep.
They've got a site plan in front of the planning board, and the planning board determined that they were going to be lead agency on that.
Okay.
So it's right next to this event venue. So I'm interested to see how they can manage to make those 2 uses harmonious. I think
is that to do a propane storage,
it's already
Moravito?
there. It's it's already there. It's already a propane storage, and I guess they might be expanding. I'm not sure what it is. We'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Okay.
And then there was 1, 2, 3, 4 site plan extensions, one of which had received 46 90-day extensions.
46 90-day extensions.
I think I wrote that down correctly, but
yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah. And we haven't heard anything from the town board about actually stopping that from happening yet. It wasn't in...
Well, we don't know what the zoning law is that they're dealing with right now, but Mr.
Right.
Fred Reichel, the chair of the planning board committee, did say he thought it might be included, which would be amazing if this first batch of comprehensive plan items that are adopted included this cease and desist for zombie approvals. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was it. That's the planning board. It was a little bit longer than I expected because it wasn't a very long agenda, but I think it was a good meeting. A lot of good interaction.
Well, thanks for going and writing that letter.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry I had to miss it.
That's okay. Tell me what you want to tell us about the ambulance corps.
Yes.
It's so interesting because we need them so badly.
We need them so badly.
But you don't think about them unless you need them. That's
right.
The guys here say that to me all the time. Nobody ever thinks about us until they need us.
Right.
Which is
and when you pick up the phone and you call 911, you expect people to show up in a pretty timely manner. And I know that the ambulance corps works very, very hard to make sure that happens. So we've been working on our budget for next year, as you do, in this part of the timing of the year. And we are trying to figure out what we're going to do because, for those that don't know, the ambulance corps is not 100% volunteer. So we have full-time employees and part-time employees. And because of that, and the expenses of all the equipment, there is no possible way that insurance reimbursement can cover the cost of running the business here. Yeah. On top of that, 4 out of every 10 calls don't result in transport, and that is a free service to the community. Yeah. So the town of Montgomery for the past 2 years has given and apportioned $150,000 each year to the ambulance corps to offset some of those losses, which I know everyone is very grateful for. Next year, we are looking to, and actually very quickly, start staffing 2 trucks. So right now, the ambulance corps had enough finances with this help from the town to staff 1 truck. But that means that if the truck is on its way to one location, like the hospital with you, and I call, then they have to then call for help from another area. It could be the town of Newburgh, it could be the town of Walk Hill, and that's considered a dropped call, right? Because it's within our jurisdiction.
Service area?
Service area, thank you.
Yeah.
So we want to start staffing that second ambulance, and in order to do that, we're going to need some more help from somebody.
Right.
So we are trying to work with the town for them to allocate slightly more money next year to the ambulance corps. And unfortunately, in our last meeting with the town, it did not go in that direction the way I wanted it to. So now the town has not finalized their budget yet.
Right.
And we were working here for a couple of hours to figure out what we're going to do with wanting to staff up to take care of these calls as the call volume increases so that we are at faster response times and a reduction in dropped calls. I don't know the answer. I mean, the answer is always going to be we will staff an ambulance and send it somewhere, right? Like, that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But when the bills come in to pay for what we need to pay for, it's a little difficult to find the money and to come up with it when it is not there.
Right. And let me just ask you some questions about this.
Sure.
Did the ambulance corps do something wrong to not have any money? What?
No, that's a great question. Yeah. The answer is no. The ambulance corps didn't do anything wrong. They followed the right steps as far as I can find out from the history of the ambulance corps. It was about 2018 or so that they had to stop being 100% volunteer and start hiring people. And it was about that same time was the first time they approached the town board. Right. So it was very much in conjunction with we're headed in a direction of paid employees, and because of that, we won't be able to be financially sustainable. So we'd like some help. Right. And ever since then, the town board, in some situations back then, didn't give them any money. Now we do have a town board that supports them partially.
Right.
But
it feels really political, though. I mean, emergencies happen and people expect to have an ambulance on the other side of 911 call.
And one of the questions that I have, because for some of those people that remember last year, there was this whole talk of an ambulance tax district, right? And what that meant. So what that means is that there would be an addition of a line on everybody's taxes, just like if you look at your own taxes, if you're a property owner in the town of Montgomery or the village, it says something like, town, and then it says village, if you're village, highway has its own tax district, fire, if you're part of a fire district, there would be an additional line on everybody's taxes, and it would say ambulance district. It would be, I would say, depending on how the value of your home, about $50 to $60 for the year, and everyone would pay in, and that money would be protected for the ambulance corps.
Right.
And Brian had moved forward with setting up this tax district, and unfortunately, he missed the deadline last year, so it pushed that tax district out for a whole year. But my question is, why are we waiting for the tax district to correctly support the ambulance corps?
Yeah.
Right? So there's nothing stopping a town board from allocating more money, if necessary, to our first responder services and finding a way. I'm not saying we need to increase taxes. I'm just saying, how do we prioritize our taxes?
Right.
Where to go where they need to go, and are first responder and emergency services a top priority? In my opinion, they are. But you don't have to wait for that tax district to go through to provide services. In fact, in the county, in Orange County, there's only 4 tax districts in all of the towns.
Oh.
Everybody else is just either providing some semblance of municipal funding for their ambulance corps. So I don't know why we're waiting for a tax district. And in fact, at this point, it could be at the absolute earliest 2023 before that happens. So all of 2022 has to go by before, and we'll know by March. That's the deadline that Brian missed and the town board missed last time.
Okay.
Any other questions about the ambulance corps?
I
know we're out of time, so we'll.
I know this is because of that big bug.
Yeah. Well, let's blame the bug.
Let's blame the bug. There was one thing. Shoot.
It's okay.
It's pretty late.
Yeah, it's so late.
It's so late.
Oh my God.
I think just the thing that I would like to say about the ambulance corps. Oh, this is something that they said in one of the town board meetings where they came and they asked, for some to have a budget line item. And this was like maybe a year and a half ago, if I recall correctly. And one thing that they said that really stuck with me was that the ambulance corps had made, they had made a decision that they were not going to bankrupt anybody for medical care.
That's correct.
And I think that that's really important to acknowledge.
Yes.
Because medical costs can be very expensive, and we have a lot of elderly in this town who are on fixed incomes, and the fact that the ambulance corps will come and transport you and then not chase you for money, I think it's something that we should note as well, because that also, it's the lack of payment if you don't transport, but it's also this moral decision that they've made to care for our community in this way.
Well, and that decision means lost revenue, right? So the ambulance corps does have a policy right now where they don't send, they will follow up for payment if the patient has a self-pay rate, as any healthcare company will do, but they will not send people to collections. And like you're saying, they won't bankrupt people to pay for their services. And it's hundreds of thousands of dollars that they write off each year for people who cannot pay. And again, that's community benefit, and it doesn't even come. The amount that they write off is not even close to the $150,000 that they get.
Yes, exactly.
I think that I was watching. There was a presentation done on the county level 2 weeks ago about emergency services in Orange County, and they said that the cost of running an ambulance is I think they said it was about $1,800. It was like over $1,000, and Medicaid, which is the state insurance for New York, reimburses less than $200.
Yeah.
So even when there is insurance, it doesn't come close to the cost. And I think there's nothing right or wrong about, insurance payments are going to be what they're going to be. Unfortunately, we can advocate for those on a state level, but we need to make sure that our towns are really taking care of our first responders, because that's what we expect when we call for help.
Right.
So, where can I find more of you this week?
You can find me on the internet for sure. I am at Karina for Montgomery on Instagram and Facebook. And also that's my webpage. What about you? Where can I find you?
So I have a Facebook page. It's where I put the primary part of, bulk of my posts. It's Sylvie Rinaldi for Montgomery Town Board, because I am running for town board.
No way. I am too. What a coincidence.
You can vote for both of us.
Yeah, there's 2 little circles you have to fill in on the ballot.
Yeah.
We're right next to each other. But you
we
have
can
to
bring
go-
a picture next time.
We'll show you the ballot. You have to go all the way to the very end,
Yes.
because town board candidates are at the very end on the rightmost side.
I would like to say that we should be first because we are the most important.
We are the ones that are going to have the most impact on your day-to-day quality of life. Honestly, state judges are important, but not for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when you're voting or you see your ballot, instead of working left to right, it's counterintuitive. Vote right to left.
Yes.
We are in line A and line D.
That's right.
Of the ballot. You can vote for both of us because there are 2 seats. Early voting starts October 23rd through 31st. Our closest early voting location is at the Montgomery Senior Center in the Village of Montgomery.
Yep.
Polls are open on November 2nd, which is the general election day, from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. The early voting times, it's like all over the place. Every day has something different. And you can still request an absentee ballot up until October 18th.
Right.
So if you don't think you're going to make it, or you're worried about COVID, or you're, either one of those things, request an absentee ballot. And we will put it in the comments. I keep thinking I'm going to do that, and then I get home and I'm so tired and I forget. But for sure, we'll put the link in the comments and if you have any questions, feel free to send us a message. We'll be happy to answer it.
Yeah.
So that's it.
That's it.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Night.
Bye.